Hey there, it's Lenny McGill with the GlockStore Performance and Custom Shop here in the beautiful Nashville studios today. And the long-awaited Glock 17L Gen 5 has arrived. Oh, they have arrived. Look at that. And it's a Gen 5 version. Of course, everybody, is kind of familiar with the Gen 3 option. And we're going to talk about some of the differences. But a lot of people have been waiting for the Gen 5. In fact, we got some in, and some guy drove down right away and said, I want one because I've been waiting for the Gen 5 version of the 17L. And so we've got them now, and we're selling them now. They're going to be, probably in demand for a while, so they'll go quickly. But let's go ahead and talk about what they've done here. First of all, the most obvious thing, and the reason a lot of people wanted the Gen 5 option, is the MOS plate. On the Gen 3, and I did a video of this earlier, on the Gen 3, it appears that it has room for an optic, and we mill optics in our 10-day optics program. But the 17L and the way they manufactured it, underneath the slide, they have some relief cuts to lighten the slide because it's so long and so heavy, it has to cycle. And so these relief cuts, as you can see right here, see if you can get that, these guys right here, interfere with the screw holes, for your optics. So you can't really put an optic on a 17L Gen 3. And that was, of course, an issue. A lot of people said, oh, well, gee, why can't we? Well, you could if you used an adapter plate on the top here, but you can't mill the optic down. So, and a lot of people, of course, want the Gen 5. They want the new frame, and that's some of the other options there, some of the other upgrades in a sense. And I'm going to show you those here in just a second. Let me go ahead and put this back together. Boom. All right. So the 17 Gen 3, of course, does not feature the ambidextrous slide stop. So we'll take a look at that. Ambidextrous means it's on both sides. Operating for your lefty, you can do it that way. And a ready is, of course, just where it's supposed to be. It is an extended slide stop. It was on the Gen 3 as well. So that's kind of nice. The other upgrade that I've noticed here is, of course, the ambidextrous magazine release button. Gen 3 is not ambidextrous. It is extended on the 17L. You can kind of take a look at this. It really sticks out high. I can go this way maybe, and you'll see how big that is right here. Now, it's sharp. I mean, those edges, they are sharp. It does function, and it is not very pleasant on the thumb. So the Gen 5 option, they also have an extended mag release button. However, they've also rounded that edge a little bit. And it doesn't stick up too much, but certainly more. I mean, just a little bit more than the standard one. We kind of were looking at it and thinking, is it really extended? But it is. Just a little bit, but the rounded edge is kind of neat. So it really, facilitates your mag drops. So now, the other thing that is really interesting, of course, on the Gen 5 is they have removed the finger grooves. Gen 3, of course, has finger grooves. Gen 5, the whole Gen 5 frame has a different texture, remove the finger grooves, and of course, with the Gen 5, you can add the backstraps. Boom. There's they come with two backstraps. What's interesting to me is that the Glock frame and the way it stands right here, the normal frame without the backstraps, is almost the perfect frame for my hand. And the way I say that, and I always like to point this out because it's very natural for all of us to point, right? Point at something. And that's how the Glock was developed, so that you can actually point your finger at the target. So if you watch my hand, I'm not really going to change it much. Pointing, right? Coming back, grip. That's what makes the Glock special, is the fact that it's a lot easier to shoot for most people who've never shot a lot before because it's very pointable. Now, these backstrap editions change a little of that. Some people like it. Okay, I mean, I'm just telling you what my feeling is that the gun the way it is just perfect for my hand to say, hey, you, same concept, right? I'm pointing my finger at the target, and I will tell you that every one of you watching, if you took and put a laser on your finger and you pointed across a room, you could be extremely accurate. You would be just extremely accurate because we all have done this all of our lives. boom, pointing at, you know, whatever we want to point at. We know somehow our brain is all dialed into that index finger and that sensitivity there that we can point that with extreme accuracy. And that's why the Glock is special. So, getting off on the tangent there. Back to these backstraps. You know, they're pretty cool. They, you know, like I said, I don't use them. I don't like them, but they do just snap right on. And I'll put the big one on here. And it's really neat when you just snap it in there and you kind of snap it in place. There's a pin, of course, an extended pin that goes through that holds it on, and it gives you a little different grip. So you can experiment with your different hands. You know, some guys who've got massive hands may want the larger grip because their finger gets buried in there with the standard grip. But you know, it's something that a lot of people like. I do like the beaver tail concept that is accentuated with the grip itself. It's pretty cool. And here's a smaller option as well. You know, basically, you know, they just click in there into place, and you basically have a different grip than the Glock factory grip. So you know, they're pretty cool. But the Gen 5, like I said, no finger grooves. A lot of people didn't like the finger grooves on the Gen 3. They don't bother me personally. But when they went back with the Gen 5 without finger grooves, there was a lot of, yay, finally, oh, I'm so happy, oh, great. You know, so I guess a lot of people did not like the finger grooves. We talked about the extended slide stop, extended mag button, of course. The Gen 5 also has serrations on the front, whereas the Gen 3 does not have the serrations. We did talk about that coffin cut. A lot of people were like, well, why is that thing there? And that's really to lighten the slide. So Glock, what they've done on the Gen 5 is a couple of different things to lighten the slide. First of all, gun is, of course, empty. Let me go ahead and look inside here. We'll show you the underneath here, just so you can kind of look at it. You can see that they have not done any cutouts from this perspective. But when we remove the MOS cover plate with the tool that's included in the package, when we remove this cover plate, you'll see that there are, in fact, underneath here, some cutouts to help lighten the slide. The concept is, again, you know, you're shooting 9mm ammo, and this is a really big, long slide. So the ammo doesn't have enough energy to cycle the slide. And so they, of course, on that Gen 3, did that big coffin cut, and that was one thing. They also did all those cuts underneath there we showed you earlier when I took the slide off. They've also done some cutouts underneath here. So that, I believe, is really just to lighten the slide. And there are those cutouts. And you can see how they're escaping the actual holes for the MOS cover plate. Now, while we're talking about optics, I'll show you one with an optic on. Okay, so we've installed the Holosun. This is their Holosun 507 Comp, or in competition. It's got a very large window. You can see that, how much larger it is than most other optics. And there's the side view, and if you get in really close, you'll be able to read this as 507 Comp. All right, now, this is mounted with the optic plate that comes with the gun. And if you look in here close again, you'll see there's a plate right here that goes into the MOS footprint. And then that plate accepts various optics. Let's see here. See if I can find the plate here real quick to give you a view of that. So the plate that comes typically with these guns is a number 2 plate, which accepts the RMR or the Holosun optics. And this is basically what it looks like. So it drops right into the footprint, and then you put the optic on top of it. The challenge with that is that it sits a little bit high. And what you're going to notice is that you cannot co-witness with these factory sights. Now, of course, the 17L, as well as the 34, come with the factory adjustable rear sight. So if you look here, the optic is too thick or too tall, it sits too high to allow you to co-witness with those factory sights. The only optic that will allow you to co-witness with these sights would be the Holosun SCS, because it is designed to fit directly onto the MOS footprint. it's going to fill it all up, and it just sits nice and low, and you can actually use the factory height sights to see about 1/8 of a window there of the front and rear sight. So that's a really good option in my mind, because the lower the optic sits, the more pointable the gun is. So that said, this Gen 5 cutout is good. It works. But you will have to use a plate to mount most other optics. The only one that fits is that Hullison SCS. Okay. So there's the Gen 5 Glock 17L. There's one other thing I want to show you, which is kind of interesting and kind of unique. In their effort to reduce the weight of the slide, they made this nose ring dust cover out of polymer. Surprise, surprise, right? It doesn't look like it, but it is. And again, it's probably for weight reduction. The Glock 17L uses a standard Gen 5 17 guide rod. Boom, just like that. All right. This piece will come out, and I'll show you, there's a nice long barrel, right? This piece comes out. It's just a polymer piece they created. And for the life of me, I have to assume they did it because of weight reduction. I also know as a machine shop owner that it's a lot easier to mill this. This part is, the nose ring is always hard to mill. It takes a little bit more time. So they're using less steel, and it takes less time to incorporate this nose ring. I don't think that it's going to have any problem with performance, but it is kind of interesting that they went this way. And we're thinking to ourselves, well, it must really be the weight reduction. And then, part of me as a machine shop owner and, accountant bean counter, I'm sitting there going, well, it's also probably the time too, because you probably shave off a whole bunch of time cutting this part out of steel. Plus, if you had this out of steel, that means this whole thing has got to be steel. So now they've reduced even the material cost as well. But, I'm sure Glock has a reason, and, Glock is, pretty darn smart as a company, and they test everything, and I bet you this is going to be just fine. Okay, let's see here. Did I get it in right? There you go. It kind of snaps in place. So there it is. And again, like I said, it's just a standard Glock 17 guide rod that fits into this gun. 17 Gen 5. Now, the Gen 5 guide rods are different from the Gen 3 and Gen 4 guide rods. Even though the Gen 4 and 5 kind of look alike, this guide rod's a little bit longer because the barrel lugs are set back on the Gen 5 guns. So keep that in mind when you're looking at guide rods. Okay, so there is kind of a run through of this Glock 17. I shot it the other day, and it was fun. These are great guns to shoot. The gun just feels good. It operates great. It really is awesome. So if you're looking to get into a Gen 5 17L, they are now released. I do believe they're going to be hard to find for a while, so we may not have them when you go to the site, but we do get them. And so I know we have some now as I speak right here. Here they are. And I've got a couple more as well coming on the way. So if you're looking for a Gen 5, we've got them. One other thing I'm going to tell you is that it does have their dot connector, which makes the trigger a little bit lighter than the standard offering. It's kind of a competition gun. It's designed for competition. There we go. Everything looking good. And there it is. So, overall, I like it. It looks good, and the fact that you can put an optic on it makes it a big plus. The fact that it's ambidextrous makes it a big plus. Front serrations, love that too. I like to rack the slide from the front. And the reason I like it because you can actually look inside the chamber as you're doing it. Sometimes your hands get in the way here and you can't really see. So I like to be up top here so I can actually see that the chamber is empty. We press check just from the top as well. But overall, the 17L is now out and available, and we've got them here at GlockStore. And if you're looking for any more information on this particular gun, we can probably help you out. Like I said, optics comes with an optic plate. It comes with a number 2 plate, which typically fits most of the RMRs, and a lot of the Hullisons. So look online, we've got a diagram or a description of what it fits. I'm Lenny McGill. This, of course, is the GlockStore Performance and Custom Shop here in Nashville, Tennessee. If you're ever in Nashville, and a lot of people are coming to town because it's a great city, make sure you drop into the store. We're just 2 miles from the airport. People come in all the time. We love to have visitors from out of town. Get a lot of locals, of course, but the visitors from out of town are always welcome, and we do all kinds of fun stuff here. We've got our Shoot 270 range. We've got a lot of custom guns to look at, custom guns to shoot and rent, and custom guns to buy. And you can buy a gun here, and we can ship it back to an FFL dealer in your state and pick it up there. So it's all good, and I do appreciate you being part of our program. Please subscribe. We got more videos coming, and I hope to see you next time.